I don't have to stuff myself with so much food. I try to make sure that I have enough fat in my meals so I don't have to eat so much.
Is Chloe Ting totally obsessed with counting calories? Hey everyone, I'm Abbey Sharp. Welcome to Abby's Kitchen. Today we are reviewing everyone's favorite Australian fitness girl, Chloe Ting. Now, Chloe first went viral during the pandemic when basically everyone switched to at-home workouts, myself included. I feel like everyone was trying her abs in 2 weeks video, which just as an aside is not a realistic goal, but that is a discussion for another day. But today we are diving into one of her more recent What I Eat in a Days from 2024, and I'm gonna be sharing my thoughts on calorie counting and macros. Before we get started, quick disclaimer that these videos are for educational purposes only. They're not individualized advice even for Chloe because I don't know her whole history. We'll also be talking explicitly about calories, so if that is not supportive to your journey, you can click out and I will see you in the next video. And please do not forget to subscribe and also check out my new podcast, Bite Back with Abbey Sharp, if you are loving the science-based nutrition content. Okay, let's take a quick beat here to talk about my sponsor that I'm so excited about, FabFitFun. So if you haven't seen these curated boxes pop up in your feed yet, FabFitFun is a lifestyle subscription where you get 6 products per season from top brands across beauty, fashion, home, wellness, skincare, and more. It's not just like a get what you get and you don't get upset situation. You actually get to select the products that you get in each box to make sure that it's a good fit for you. And there's just like something so fun about getting a package full of goodies in the mail, never mind a huge discounted price. There were so many great options. I had a really hard time choosing, but I opted for the Slow Tide Turkish Towel, the KP Bump Eraser, Bathorium Exfoliating Sponge, NARS Afterglow Shine Lipstick, Basque Sheer Sunscreen, and the Skincare Tools Depuffing Mask. And you can actually see the retail value of each of your choices. So when I did the math, it was well over $200 worth of high quality products. Now, there are 2 ways that you can sign up to become a member. Either seasonally at $69.99 every quarter or annually at $219.99, which saves you about $60 per year. As a FabFitFun member, you also get access to amazing flash sales with top brands like Fenty, Glossier, Prada, and Olaplex, where you can get up to 70% off. So the average member actually ends up saving around $500 in their first season. And right now, FabFitFun has 2 exciting offers for my fans. You can get 20% off by using my code ABBY20 when you sign up for your first box as a seasonal member. And you can get a surprise gift valued at over $200 when you sign up for an annual membership using my code ABBYGIFT. So 2 really amazing ways to get to explore new brands and products every season. But check out the link in my description to sign up today. All right, let's dive in.
I'm having avocado toast with eggs. I like to keep my breakfast pretty simple. I used to not be able to have an avocado because I'll get like really bad bloating issues, and these days I'm doing pretty well.
Okay, I know avocado toast and eggs is kind of like the classic dietitian breakfast, but it really is such an awesome balanced option. We got lots of fiber and healthy fats in the avocado and some solid protein and fats in the eggs. And if you were looking for even more fiber and protein, one of my favorite hacks is to smash in some white beans or some cottage cheese right into the avocado. Sourdough is also one of my favorite bread options because the fermentation process actually improves the bioavailability of nutrients and can make it more easily digestible for a lot of folks. As for the avocados causing bloating, this is actually not uncommon.
Avocado! Thanks!
So Monash University recently found that avocados contain a FODMAP called persitol, which is basically a type of polyol unique to avocados. Now, although there isn't a ton of research on persitol specifically, we can infer based on FODMAP research that this compound may trigger bloating and IBS symptoms in sensitive folks. So if you love avocados and you don't want to like cut them out forever, but you find that they might be a triggering ingredient, you can try decreasing your portion size to about anywhere between like 1/8 to 1/4 of an avocado and picking a super ripe one, because scientists have found that persitol content decreases during the ripening process. So definitely use that to your advantage.
I find tracking calories and macros really useful at the early stage of your fitness journey. Like before I started tracking calories, I would have no idea how much calories I had in my meal. But after 2 years of consistently tracking, I can gauge how much carbs, protein, or fat is in my meals and how much calories there are. But you need to have a healthy relationship with food and not over obsess about the numbers. I'm not too strict about my calories. I just make sure that I hit my protein intake every day.
Okay, so I'm well aware that this video is sponsored by LifeSum, but I do think it's worth discussing my general views on calorie counting. First of all, I'm not against calorie counting. You know, for some people, getting started on a weight loss or weight gain or just general health journey, it can be a useful tool to start to learn a bit more about nutrient density and how macro composition affects their energy, digestion, blood sugars, etc. For those who have specific body composition or sports goals and therefore have much more specific nutrient needs, it can also help ensure that they're not underfueling, especially when exercise can often blunt hunger cues. So, you know, people's intuition might just not be enough for them to get their fill. For the average person though, I don't think it's at all necessary or even helpful to know the exact calories, fat, protein, and carbs in every single meal that you eat. For most people, just thinking about the combination and combining fiber-rich carbs, protein, and fats at meals, and maybe getting, you know, a rough estimation of what like 20 grams of protein looks like or a serving of grains looks like is more than enough information to have benefit. There are also a lot of limitations of calorie counting when it's really, really strict that can interfere with its efficacy. So just to name a few of these limitations, apps can't tell you accurately what your nutrient needs are. They're very much just estimations. Foods can be legally off on their nutrient analysis by 20%, and a food's calories can change depending on how it's grown, processed, or cooked. So for example, whole almonds would have fewer calories and fat than the same amount of almonds ground into almond butter because the mechanical processing allows more of the fats to be accessed and absorbed. Another example is cooled cooked rice, because cooling cooked starches will increase the fiber content and reduce the absorbable calories as well through a process called retrogradation. I've actually talked a lot more about that on my channel. Not to mention, different gut microbiomes are more or less efficient at absorbing calories. So we basically fight for calories with our gut bacteria, and generally speaking, the healthier the microbiome, the more calories they consume and win, and the fewer calories we absorb. So it's very hard to count calories with full accuracy, not to mention putting every blueberry on a food scale in the hopes of complete accuracy can be a very big slippery slope into disordered eating. You know, I always say that food is so much more than just its nutritional content. It's part of our culture, memories, community, and comfort. So much more than what we get out of, you know, MyFitnessPal. So if you're finding yourself unable to eat something because you don't know the exact calories for it, or you're making food choices that maybe you don't like just because it's low calorie, that might be a pretty good sign that it's gone too far and it's doing more harm than good.
I like to go for 35% carbs, 30% protein, and 35% fat. And the reason why I like this ratio a lot is because it makes me happy, first of all. Also, I don't have to stuff myself with so much food. I try to make sure that I have enough fat in my meals so I don't have to eat so much.
So it seems like Chloe's goal here is to actually eat enough calories to prevent her from losing weight. So yes, I agree. It makes sense to choose more higher fat foods because they provide 9 calories per gram versus 4 calories found in carbs and protein. That said, since she is so active, I also wouldn't shy away from the carbs. So best practices for endurance activities suggest about 55 to 65% of daily calories from carbs, and at least 45% for muscle building since carbs are protein sparing. So I think it's worth experimenting to see if adding in some lower fiber carbs would help with workout fueling and recovery and help her meet her caloric needs with less volume. And if you want to learn more about macro recommendations for different goals, definitely check out my video right here.
Some people need protein powder to hit their protein intake for the day, but if you can get enough from whole foods, I don't see a reason to. Like when I I was bulking, I was having a hard time ingesting too much food, so a good way to get my calories in is to drink smoothies.
Yes, I 100% agree. As a dietitian, I can tell you that you can totally meet your protein goals with whole food. Like, I have a whole Protein 101 ebook linked below with the top protein sources that you can add to your diet. But I also agree with Chloe that while protein powders aren't necessary, not even for bodybuilders, they are a useful tool for a lot of us, since protein is arguably the meal component that requires the most time, skill, and also often money to prepare. A lot of us just don't have the bandwidth to grill chicken breasts in the middle of our workday. So that is honestly why I created New Theory's 2-in-1 plant-based probiotic protein powder. I know that I feel best when I get around like 30 grams of protein at each meal and like 10 to 20 or so at snack. So being able to fall back on like a protein shake in the day just means I can more effortlessly meet my protein needs.
For lunch, we're having some japchae noodles, which is a Korean noodle dish, and this is really good and we're making it from scratch.
Love this. Those look so yummy. We've got carbs in the sweet potato noodles, fiber in the veggies, protein in the steak, and some healthy fats in the cooking oil. Now, I just want to point out, of course, that sweet potato noodles are a swap for actual sweet potatoes, as they basically just use the isolated potato starch. So they're really not the same as if you were to take a sweet potato and like spiralize it with the fiber intact. But they make a delicious gluten-free option if you have celiac disease or a gluten intolerance. And circling back on our conversation on bloating, Chloe mentions that she often gets very bloated from onion, garlic, and cruciferous veggies, which are really, honestly, my top triggers as well. And that's because all of these are very, very high in FODMAPs, which are more easily fermented by the bacteria in our gut. So to get the flavor without the bloat, you can use garlic infused oil or like a lower FODMAP flavor house like green onions instead of white onions, and then stick to lower FODMAP veg in your stir fry like carrots, bok choy, and zucchini.
We have Japanese chicken curry for dinner, and this is so easy to make. You can make it the day before and have it for the next 2 days. It's super nutritious and tasty.
I am obsessed with curry, and this looks so yum. It seems like we've probably got some protein in the chicken, got some fiber in the potatoes and veggies, and likely some fats in the sauce. And judging by Chloe's goals to choose more nutrient-dense foods rather than kind of bulking up on high volume, low calorie veg, these proportions also make total sense. Whereas, of course, if I were counseling someone who was trying to do the opposite, we might consider adding in a few handfuls of spinach for some extra satiating fiber and more volume. And this is why the Hunger Crushing combo is so foundational for good health, because you can adjust the proportions depending on your goal.
So today I've eaten about 1800 calories, and I tried my best to stick to my macros, but most importantly, I tried to hit my protein intake for the day.
So according to Chloe's app, it looks like she's pretty much met her goals here. And while I am not Chloe's dietitian, and therefore I really cannot say what her actual needs are, her calorie intake seems completely reasonable. And I also appreciate that she has goals, but is willing to be flexible on how she gets there. And research does suggest that flexibility is one of the key drivers in supporting a healthy relationship with food. So when we look within groups that actively diet, those who are able to be more flexible with their restrictions and respond to their environments tend to be more protected from the risks of disordered eating when compared to those who are more rigid with their food rules. Research has even shown that these flexible dieters are more successful with weight loss and weight loss maintenance, demonstrating how important flexibility is for long-term change. It is not inherently disordered to chase health or even body composition goals, but it's all about your mindset and your approach along the way. And judging by the way that Chloe eats and talks about food, it looks like she's doing a really great job. And that takes us to the end of the video. I really hope this was helpful, and also please be sure to be kind to both Chloe and myself in the comments. And I would love if you would check out Bite Back with Abbey Sharp if you are loving the no BS nutrition advice. But I'll see you next time in Abby's Kitchen. Bye!